Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about the Bhukti periods of Rahu Mahadasha. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. If you aren't familiar with Rahu Mahadasha, make sure to check out my video on this Dasha period, as this is a very intense Mahadasha to undergo that involves a lot of changes and transformation. So what is going to happen during the first period of Rahu-Rahu? Well, this is going to be the changeover period. So this is following your Mars Mahadasha. So you're going to see an immediate shift as you step into this first Rahu-Rahu period. And generally, this is a period that is felt strongly as very unstable. Many changes and many sudden circumstances can occur during this first period. This is generally going to be a difficult period for many people with this lack of stability. This can also go positively, though, depending upon how your Mars Mahadasha went and depending upon how Rahu is placed in your chart. So you want to pay attention to all of these factors. Rahu, of course, is going to be the Lord of Aquarius and Virgo. So Rahu tends to do best when he is in earth signs and air signs within your chart. We're also going to talk later about the house positions where Rahu does the best at. But this first period is definitely going to be a whirlwind of events, a huge transformative period for many of you stepping into this. Rahu, remember, deals with your current destiny, your future. So this is pulling you into the future. And so everything that you are comfortable with, that you're familiar with, is suddenly going to start to change. You're going to see immediate results take place in this Rahu-Rahu. Now, following Rahu-Rahu is going to be a Rahu-Jupiter period, and this is going to be a little bit different. Jupiter is primarily going to help this Rahu Mahadasha. It's going to make it a little bit easier. And of course, this is again going to depend upon where Jupiter is placed in your chart. But generally, Rahu-Jupiter is a positive period that involves learning and gaining greater wisdom. So this could be a time where you are drawn to religious or spiritual studies. And especially as Rahu deals with foreign things, with unknown factors, this can pull you into foreign philosophies, foreign religions. This could be a time of wanting to travel. This is definitely a time of growth and expansion in your life, where this is trying to get you to broaden your horizons. So that first Rahu-Rahu period was a very unstable period where you feel this immediate change and transformation occur. But coming into this Rahu-Jupiter period, this is going to be more of where you're becoming comfortable with all of these dramatic changes and actually diving deeper into this and accepting these changes, wanting to go through different adventures and learning experiences here in this Rahu-Jupiter. Rahu-Saturn can help you, as Rahu and Saturn are very similar in their nature. They are both rulers of Aquarius. And so this can be a great time for your growth and prosperity. The tricky part about this, though, is that Saturn is a very slow-moving planet. Saturn teaches us patience and discipline. Rahu is very unconventional, likes to take shortcuts, likes to think outside the box. So this can be a little bit of a frustrating time in terms of wanting to manifest things very quickly into your life. Saturn is definitely going to put up blocks and delays where you're going to have to learn how to work hard and take your time on these pursuits. But this still can give you a ton of material wealth and prosperity in this Dasha period. Again, you want to look at how Saturn is functioning in your chart, how it relates to Rahu's position in your chart. This will all tell you whether this will be positive or negative. But generally speaking, this is a time of hard work, of discipline, of putting in the effort and seeing some real results coming out of it. Rahu-Mercury can be a very fast-paced time in your life where there's a lot of change and adventure occurring. Rahu and Mercury are great friends with one another, so this is generally a positive time. Again, you want to pay attention to how everything is positioned in your chart. But generally speaking, Rahu-Mercury is an excellent time for new adventures, new relationships, new experiences. This is an excellent time for business, as Mercury deals a lot with business communications, with your intellectual thinking and quick decisions. So this can be an excellent time where you're thinking of some new ingenious ways of approaching business and success in your life, especially as Rahu likes to think outside of the box, and Mercury is that quick decision-making factor that helps in business communications and your skill sets. So this can be a very clever period where you're developing new skills, where you are finding new ways of achieving and succeeding. Very fast-paced, breezy, light energy. A lot easier than our previous periods within this Rahu Mahadasha. And so this can be an excellent time where you're feeling more optimistic, where you're enjoying the ride of life. Again, you want to pay attention to what's happening in your chart. This is especially going to be a positive period for those of you who love change, who love new adventures. But for those who like a lot of security and for things to stay the same, this can be a bit challenging, as Mercury is going to change things up and Rahu is very restless. So together, both of these are a changeable factor where there's going to be a lot of restlessness, a lot of changeability happening. So the best thing to do during this Rahu-Mercury Dasha is to be adaptable and flexible, to go with the flow and to take on these new experiences and opportunities. Next is Rahu-Ketu, and this is going to be a very intense yet short period. Rahu and Ketu are always opposite to one another in the natal chart. And Rahu is, again, this force that is bringing us into the present, into this current reality that we live in. It is all about the material world. Ketu is the past. It is connected to our past lives, our spirituality, our intuition, all of our inherent and natural qualities that exist within us. And so while this is a tug of war between Rahu and Ketu, this is definitely going to feel this way, as there's going to be a lot of karma to deal with during this Rahu-Ketu Dasha period. This is an excellent time to take a break, to look inward, to deal with any kind of difficulties within your life before trying to jump out into external situations. So this can be very difficult when dealing with anything where you have to make decisions in the material world, in the outside world. There can be all sorts of sudden upsets and difficulties in jumping into new experiences. So this is primarily going to be an excellent time to meditate, to reflect, to go inward, to take that time to yourself, to deal with some internal issues and personal concerns instead of trying to jump out into new experiences. Time to slow this fast-paced energy of the Rahu-Mercury down. Similar to Rahu-Mercury, Rahu and Venus are great friends. So this is generally going to be a positive experience in terms of material success and enjoyment. Venus is all about pleasure. It's all about the enjoyment of this physical world that we live in. Venus is all about love, peace, beauty, and Rahu is the one that likes to obsess over this material world, to obsess over the pleasures of our lives. So these two are going to do very well together. This is an excellent time for relationships, for business, for enjoyment, fun. This can be a very social social time in your life. This is excellent for those of you who love to socialize, who love to do things in the material world, who love to have different experiences. This Rahu-Venus is going to support this greatly. This is an excellent time for new romances, for marriage, for any kind of relationship factors. Rahu definitely is not going to take anything away in terms of relationships. However, Rahu does want you to move in the direction of what is for you. So remember that Rahu is illusion and teaches us through illusion. And so this is definitely not a time for anything that is not meant for you in your life. There can be situations within your relationships where you need to deal with some difficulties and concerns before moving forward. But for the most part, Rahu-Venus is going to bless you in terms of your relationships, your social life with your friends, anything where you are engaged with others. This is an excellent time for this. This is a great time for you to enjoy, to splurge, to live in luxury. Now, you want to be careful, though, because there is a side to this that can become overindulgent, because Venus is all about this enjoyment. It is a benefic planet, and we always say that benefic planets are good, but too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing, and Rahu doesn't know when to stop. It keeps expanding more and more, so this is definitely a time where you want to be careful about overindulgence or addictions, getting lost into these material pleasures. But for the most part, it gives you some great happiness and good experiences coming into your life. Again, you want to check out where is Venus in your chart, what is Rahu doing, and how do they relate in your chart. This is very important. Rahu and the Sun are a difficult Mahadasha to run. Rahu and the Sun are enemies. Remember that in the story of the churning of the ocean of milk, that the Sun and the Moon were the ones that exposed Rahu. So Rahu does not get along with these two graha of the Sun and the Moon. And so when Rahu comes together with the Sun, this can be a very tricky time for you. You want to pay attention to how is the Sun placed in your chart, how is Rahu positioned, and how do they interact with one another. But generally, this can give some issues around authority figures, around your father, around your teachers, mentors. This can be a very challenging time when dealing with any kind of authority figures or mentors in your life. This can be a difficult time in terms of career, moving up the ladder, getting the favor of bosses at this time can be a bit tricky. You want to be careful of any kind of arguments, disputes, difficulties that you're having with elders at this time and anyone in a position of authority. This is definitely a time to play it cool and continue to do the work that is necessary without getting wrapped up into any kind of drama. This Rahu-Sun can definitely bring some major issues with the law, with the government, so you want to be careful of all of your actions at this time. Pay close attention to your purpose. The Sun represents your purpose. So what is your purpose? Are you on your purpose, or are you focused in on other things? Remember that the Sun is a fixed energy. It rises in the east and sets in the west every day. It's very consistent. Rahu is very inconsistent, so it's going to cause some difficulties around this very consistent point of your soul's purpose. So Rahu is going to try to get you to stray off of this purpose. But what do you need to do to stay on this purpose, to continue to do what's righteous, to do the right thing within your life, and to stay on course with all of your actions and responsibilities? This is the most important thing during this Rahu-Sun Dasha. This can be a time where you are gaining some success or gaining through your reputation if you are doing something independent. So for those who are entrepreneurs especially, you can see some rise, but you want to stay humble here as you're going through this rise in your reputation, because this also can cause you to quickly fall in your reputation also. So this can be a very difficult time here of how to manage this energy, but the best thing to do again is to stay on your purpose, on your mission. This is an excellent time to incorporate any kind of spirituality, meditation, any kind of routines that'll help you to stay on task is very important. Now, when Rahu comes together with the moon in this next dasha, this is another tricky one. Again, Rahu and the moon don't get along. It was the moon and the sun that exposed Rahu. So this is very difficult. Now, the moon is representing the mind, as we've talked a lot about here on this channel. So as Rahu comes here with the moon in this dasha, this can be very tricky on a mental level, on an emotional level, where this is causing a lot of instability within the mind. And so this can be a period where you're experiencing some anxiety, depression. There can be a lot of instability going on within your psyche. And so this is definitely a time to incorporate any kind of practices, coping mechanisms that can help you in these areas. This is excellent for deep breathing, for meditation, making sure you're keeping up with your exercise. All of these factors are important, making sure you're getting enough sleep, your diet. All of this is going to come into concern during this Rahu Moon Dasha. You want to make sure you're doing as much as you possibly can to keep yourself calm, relaxed, and to make sure that you're taking care of your needs, especially your emotional needs. Looking at your emotions and seeing, are you off balance, or are you in a state where you need to take more care of yourself? This can definitely be a time of self-help practices. Putting all of this into your life can help you in a big way, because this is a roller coaster when you come through this Rahu Moon Dasha, as this is going to affect your mind, especially if the moon is placed in a difficult or challenging position in your chart. You want to check to see what is the position of the moon. And one of the tricks that you can do along with this that is a little bit different from the other graha is to check to see if your moon is waning or waxing. So the phase of the moon does influence how powerful it is in your chart. And this is going to be very important to see how this Rahu moon period is going to affect you. The moon also represents how we interact with others, our social life. And so this can definitely be a time where there's some drama around friends, where there are losses of friends or new friends coming in. So a lot of changes and fluctuation occurring in this area also. So you want to be careful about any kind of drama that you're getting involved in. This can also affect you in your home life. Again, this is going to affect you on an emotional level. So anything that is personal to you can get impacted through this Rahu Mahadasha during this Rahu Moon period. Now we get to our last and final period under this Rahu Mahadasha, which will be a Rahu-Mars Dasha. This is very intense, as Mars is a very explosive and energetic force. Mars is representing the masculine principle. It is all about building, protecting. It is all about your energy and drive to achieve. And so there is a huge amount of energy that is coming into this Mars that is fueling this Rahu Mahadasha at the end here. This can be a time where you are overly brave, overly confident, taking more risk. This can be a time where you are impulsively jumping into situations. And so this can be positive in the sense that you can clear out some old situations that needed to be resolved and worked through that you've been putting off. But this can be very difficult in terms of just jumping into situations without thinking it through. Some big transformational situations can occur within this last portion. So if you're waiting for some major changes to occur throughout your Rahu Mahadasha that didn't occur, it will occur here in this Rahu-Mars Dasha. This is where everything that was put off, that didn't occur, is going to take place with this forcefulness of Mars coming in here at the tail end. And of course, this is going to transition you into the Jupiter period. So once you clear this period and move over into Jupiter, you can see some major changes occurring that we'll talk about in our next Mahadasha video. But this is definitely going to be a time where you want to make sure that you are thinking things through, that you're being very cautious cautious, as you can get into accidents. You can get into situations where you're just being overly impulsive, not really thinking it through all the way. And of course, this is going to depend upon where Mars is placed in your chart, where Rahu is placed, and how they are interacting with one another. But for the most part, this is going to give you a ton of energy and courage, and this is all about how you are using this energy to get what you want out of life.